My dear family, yesterday the Lord gave me a Rhema about keeping the unity and the bond of peace with each other. At the time, I didn't know what it was about, but later that day I became aware of a situation that's difficult to live in until we have more space. And I believe the people involved who are there together have made monumental adjustments in their lives to get along so that it could be peaceful. But then there's always those times when we're tired or irritated for some reason. We have a short fuse and maybe we're not as kind, loving, and patient with one another that we would like to be. And sometimes we just fall short. When I got married, I got quite a shock. It seemed like he always needed to be right, and I always needed to be right. I felt the need to correct and be right. A match made for the boxing ring, right? Let me tell you. Now the Lord began working with my pride and teaching me that the bond of brotherly love was much more important than being right. There are so many things we feel we must contend with others on each day. Listen to a conversation sometime, to a group of people talking, and watch how some people just have to be right and have the last word. Really, it's comical. I have to laugh when I hear myself try to correct the pronunciation of a word for someone. Or perhaps they got the weather report from a different source and so we disagree. I mean, these are infinitely silly things. It's a great mark of Christ-likeness and maturity to let things drop when they are simply unimportant. Let others be wrong. Even better, give yourself permission to be wrong. It's really quite liberating. And even more important than that, let others be right. Accept their answers. Allow it to be, and walk away from it without placing any significance on your position. I have walked away from a number of conversations that I recognized were not worth the air I had to breathe to speak them. Oh, how deep-seated our pride is, and oh, how we mirror the world and its ways when we insist on being the final authority. How foolish of us to bother with such insignificant details. How foolish of us to bother with establishing ourselves in the pecking order. My dear ones, those who can maintain silence of mind and heart in challenging situations are those who are closest to Christ. When we break the bond of fellowship by bickering, we create injury to the body. It is a terrible thing when people prefer being right over petty details rather than have peace between the brothers. How sweet it is when we are all for one another and no one needs to leverage authority and have the last word. These foolish contentions come from human pride and the father of lies, Satan himself, who loves to sow discord, divide, and conquer. But Jesus said, "Blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are the meek." To be a peacemaker walking in the gospel sandals of peace is to relinquish your right to be right or the supreme authority. Every moment taken up with strife removes us from the sweet presence of Jesus. The devils know this well, so they call up the file on your life and map the buttons. Then they do the same for the other person and plot a way to cause a split and division in the body, which can then spread to others. Lord, I don't feel terribly bright today. Can you please help me? I know we have all had to pass through times that were demanding in the sense that they challenged our meekness and brought hidden pride to the surface. Jesus began, "Beloved children of my heart, living together can be complete bliss or constant irritation. It is up to you to see one another as a gift worth keeping. I have brought together tender souls in this mountain forest And although everyone agrees that there should be an abundance of brotherly love to cover those times of challenge, living it is quite another story. First of all, if you are not praying properly, that is, from the heart, for one another, if you are not looking to your own faults, not your brother's, you are going to have a rough time, and you may not survive, but end up living alone once again, doing your own thing. You must first look at the value of what has been set before you and make a decision whether or not it is worth the inconvenience of having to yield to others at times. This is a place where we are heading for perfection, climbing the mountain of holiness to reach the summit of brotherly love. The last thing the enemy wants for you is to be living with other people who genuinely want to be holy and live for me alone. The enemy wants you isolated so he can darken your life with depression, isolation, and a sense of not belonging anywhere. The bottom line is that you belong to me, and I wish you to have the abundant life along with other souls who have dedicated their lives to me. And certain behaviors are just not becoming of my bride. Souls living together and dedicated to God are Satan's nightmare. One Christian alone is bad enough, but a group that loves me and wants to serve me with all their hearts is his worst nightmare. So he will try every tactic to separate brothers from one another. Children, you must be smarter than the enemy. Your first line of defense is an intimate relationship with me. This can only happen if you truly believe that I love you and long for your company. You can make excuses and bring up your past and how wounded you are, how unfit you are, how you don't want to come before God because you're so filthy. Or you can commit to changing and come to me for the graces you need. Let's start here. Do you believe that I am God and able to do anything with anyone who is willing to obey me? Do you believe that I died to save you from your sins? If you believe that, then you must know that I truly love you, just as you are. I died to save sinners steeped in sin. So understand, I redeemed you while you were yet in sin. I didn't wait for you to be perfect. I didn't demand perfection. I took you to myself just as you were. Not only that, but I was very aware that it would take time for you to change as you renounced sinful habits. I did not expect perfection overnight. I accepted, loved, and worked with you right where you are at. And that is my lifelong commitment to you, forever. This nagging voice that keeps you away from me, claiming that you are not worthy, that you are too sinful, is the voice of the devil, not my voice. So if you continue to buy into that, you are allowing Satan, the god of this world, to direct your thoughts and your life. I need you to choose this day who you will follow. Take me seriously, beloved. I am not playing around with you. I am deadly serious. You cannot go on making excuses because of your past or present sinfulness. Either you want to be mine or you want to be your own and do what you think is best in your life. If you are not praying, coming to me with contrition and faith that I am forgiving, there is little hope for you in this lifestyle of total surrender to my will. I am totally yours. Will you be totally mine? Will you shut down the voices that keep you from intimacy and prayer with me? Will you send the devils running back to their pit? Or will you buy their lie and avoid coming to me in prayer, knowing in your heart and believing that I truly desire your company. This is where we must begin when there is contention among believers. We must begin with the correct vision of who you are in my eyes. When you see and believe who you truly are in me, there will be a deep inner river of peace that will avoid worldly attitudes, dissensions, and quarrels. These things will be beneath you because you are in love with me, and anything that disturbs your peace of mind and heart takes you away from me. I am asking you to begin here. When you see me as your spouse, the idea of quarreling will seem obnoxious and ridiculous to you, and you will have a desire to surrender more of your rights in order to live in that peace. This inner peace is not easily disturbed by a brother or sister because it's supernatural and not depending on circumstances around you to be maintained, other than prayer, of course. If you are biting, tearing, and clawing one another over foolish things, you need much more time in my presence. You need to play dwelling prayer music and believe that I am arranging the songs for the specific purpose of speaking to your heart. I anoint those songs to go deep, very, very deep into your heart and right your upside down thinking about yourself and others. All of you living together should feel deep shame about grumbling and complaining and exercising your rights over others. This is not who I made you to be, and it's certainly not becoming of my spouse. I brought you together to learn how to love one another, how to reflect me inside of you to your brothers and sisters. The most spiritual one among you is the meekest one among you. Their meekness shows a deep reliance and union of heart with mine. It's not what you know or how eloquently you pray or what you teach. It's totally about humility and service. How much meekness? The kind of meekness I demonstrated when I gave them my hands to be pierced with nails and fixed to the cross. So, my children, stop throwing sand in the sandbox. Be kind and yielding to one another, proving that you truly are a child of a living God, a child whom God is living inside of. I extend this grace to you now in your hearing ears. I only ask you to receive and exercise it with great piety and submission. I will be with you in this effort, and I will reward the exercising of these graces with my presence in your life.